Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio College Basketball Closing Time Show for Tuesday, March 9th. Ian Cameron, Conor Mack, ready to break down the Tuesday college basketball card. We've got another smaller card today, but we've got a lot of championship games in some of these mid-major conference tournaments. I always love these conference championship games in the smaller conference tournaments. Like you're seeing teams like App State and Greensboro last night and winning their conference tournaments, and the reaction of the kids. Like, wow, it's like they won the Super Bowl. They're going to the NCAA tournament. You're not sure when you're a smaller school like that you're going to get that opportunity, especially with all the shit the kids have had to go through this year just to pull off this season and make it happen. COVID protocols, testing, all this stuff, shutdowns in some cases where you haven't been able to play for 2 weeks because of COVID-19 and health protocols. Just all kinds of frustrations and aggravating steps that teams have to go through just to get on the damn court this season. And so to be able to win your conference tournament, you could see the pure adulation and the joy that these kids had last night winning these conference tournaments. Greensboro winning the SoCon, beating Mercer. And of course, let's give a little shout out to App State. What they did was nothing short of miraculous, Conor. 4 games in 4 days, multiple overtime games as well. Prior to last night's championship game against the number 1 seed in the conference, Georgia State, and they were wire to wire leading Georgia State pretty much in that game. A 7-point dogs, and all the money came in on Georgia State, worried about that spot, that 4 games in 4 days. Would the gas run out of the tank, so to speak, for App State? And it sure didn't happen. It was a brilliant performance, and that's why March is special. March is amazing. You get a team out of nowhere, App State, winning they were like an 8 seed in the conference tournament. And here they are winning the Sun Belt tournament. Here's Elon as an 8 seed in the Colonial in the championship game tonight. We'll talk about that game a bit. But yeah, just some thoughts, Conor, before we get into today's card on what we saw last night. Some incredible results. And App State, I think, just amazing. 4 games in 4 days, a mediocre team all season, gets hot at the right time, and now they're dancing.
Yeah, they led the whole way. I watched the whole game. That was unreal. I mean, Georgia State just couldn't get it going, just all game long. I thought they'd make that run late. They didn't. So hats off. Yeah, and to Elon, too. I mean, I wanted them to go back to the well, and I am today. We'll talk about it later. I think they're getting a few too many. I know Drexel's played well, but, I mean, they took that soft kind of Hofstra D. I thought Hofstra would score more. I mean, that was just unreal. And a little bit surprised, Milwaukee leading that game and then just kind of dying, couldn't score. Cleveland State flips it, not only flips it, but covers. Was pretty wild down the stretch. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. I can't wait for today. I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, no doubt. And yeah, I do have to vent because that was my best bet yesterday was Elon Hofstra, and I'm mad as hell. I should have used Elon. And I was thinking Elon or the over. And I thought Elon would struggle defensively. 3rd game in 3 days. The defensive intensity wouldn't be there. And Hofstra is a good offensive team all season long, and they'd score. And that's why I like the total more. And I should have went with the side. And shocking to see what happened to Hofstra. They scored
I was shocked too.
In the last 6 minutes. 1 point. 1 friggin' point. In the last 6
minutes. I can't believe that. I just, yeah.
I mean, unbelievable for a team that was, and you know what, too, pretty pathetic, too. They pretty much gave up, in the last 2-3 minutes of that game. They jacked bad threes, bad shot selection, and then there was no urgency. Where's the full court press to force a turnover? You're down by 12 with 2.5 minutes to go. You have to speed the game up.
They did just kind of quit.
You got to kind of quit. Exactly, which is kind of sad for, this is the conference tournaments, the semifinals. You're 2 wins away from making the NCAA tournament, and that's the piss poor crap ass effort you're going to give down the stretch. That's it. Just tuck our tail between our legs and go home. My goodness.
Tough to watch.
Terrible. Brutal. I mean, yeah, tough to see them struggle offensively and tough to see them basically quit and say, you know what, wave the white flag, surrender, no fight, no pushback, none of that stuff. From Hofstra down the stretch yesterday. And the big reason why that total fell short. So I was happy to cash Elon, but frustrated that game didn't go over the total. But hey, get used to frustrations. How about the people that were on Milwaukee last night? How about the people that were on South Dakota last night. You're covering the whole game, and then you basically lose by like a point or two at the end. Spread, both of those games. Milwaukee against Cleveland State and South Dakota against North Dakota State in the Summit League. So that's the way it goes. I want to caution everyone, and we'll get to the card in just a second, but you're going to see a ton of games. Collapses for the team that was leading, comebacks for the team that was behind in these conference tournament games, and you're going to see them in the NCAA tournament too. You're going to be on the right side of those sometimes. You're going to be on the wrong side of those sometimes. You cannot panic if you're on the wrong side of those and say, what an idiot I was to bet that. It's going to happen. You just hope that at the end of the day, or in this case, at the end of the season, the end of the tournament, you're going to be more on the right side and the winning side of those meltdowns for the team ahead, comebacks for the team trailing the game. You just hope you're on the winning side of those more often than not, but you can't let those type of games rule how, good of a handicapper or better you are. You can't, because that's just something that's going to happen from time to time, especially when it comes to March basketball. But speaking of March basketball, we'll turn the clock to today, or we'll turn our attention, I should say, to today's action. Let's start in the ACC tournament getting underway. This is the power conferences. They're finally getting their conference tournaments underway. ACC today, we got a bunch more tomorrow. Big 12 and many others will start tomorrow. So let's get it rolling here with Miami taking on Pittsburgh. First round action, the ACC tournament, as always, Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Kakalaki. We have Pitt here, 3-point favorites, 136 the total in this game. This is one of those games that's just quite simply on a neutral court, two teams that are erratic as hell, two teams I don't necessarily trust a whole lot. It's dog or pass in these kind of games. Either take Miami plus the 3, in my opinion, or you leave the game alone. I'm certainly not laying any points with Pitt. No way, no how, especially away from home. They're 10-11, Connor. 7 of the wins came at home. So you're talking about a team that's won 3 basketball games, 3, all season long away from home. And now they're laying 3 on a neutral court. No, thank you. Can't do it with this Pittsburgh team. Miami, though, we know the situation with them. Banged up as like crazy. Multiple guys out. Chris Likes hasn't played the whole season. That ankle injury he's had. You see that their play down the stretch. They did cover 2 of their last 3 against Virginia and Clemson. But again, they were getting big points, and they still lost by 8, lost by 11 in those games. They beat Boston College, who are terrible, but only by 4. Pitt, they beat Wake Forest. And other than that, look, it's been a dreadful run for Pitt, and coming into this game on a 1-7 straight up slide. In their last 8 games, 1-7, their last 8 going into this game. Can't lay it with Pitt. I'm not necessarily rushing to bet Miami. I don't love Miami here, but it's definitely the preferred side for me. If I'm betting this one, it's Canes. What do you think, C-Mac?
Yeah, I'm staying off this one. This is ugly. Talk about Pitt, all those transfers, their best players just leaving at the end of the year, and Miami, all those injured players, just a mashed unit of both teams putting together. I have real nothing. It'd be only take the points. I wouldn't want to lay it here. You're right. And I don't want to do it. I'm not even going to take Miami in this spot. And nothing on the total. I lean a little bit over at 136, but I want nothing side or total in this game. This is a quick pass. It'd only be a lean to Miami catching the 3.
All right, next game we stay in the ACC tournament. Boston College and Duke. Everybody talking about it the last 24 hours. Am I seeing things? Is this real life? The Duke Blue Devils are in the first friggin' round of the ACC tournament. You don't usually see that. They're usually getting a bye to the quarterfinals. They usually get a double bye, Duke, in the ACC tournament. And now here they are playing in the very first round, first day of the tournament. We have Duke laying 13 in this game. The total 151.5 across the board. I think the over's in play here. Boston College, with just a hideous defensive team, and Jim Christian's been fired. Look, it's a very, very tough game for me from a side perspective. I don't have any sort of inclination to lay 13 points with Duke. I just don't. I'm not going to do that. I'd have to look Boston College if anything, but I'm not going to take BC either. They have been that bad. You look at this Boston College team here right now. The points they're allowing, it's shocking how pathetic their defense has been, especially the last 3 games. 90 allowed to Notre Dame. Notre Dame, just brutal. They're not very good offensively, not consistent. They give up 90 points, 38 to 65 shooting. 93 points allowed to Florida State, 35 of 63 shooting allowed by Boston College. 80 points to banged up Miami, 27 of 63 shooting. All those games go over the total. Duke offensively still been pretty good, 85, 73, 77, 73 their last 4. Their defense has kind of faltered, 80, 81, 91 allowed their last 3 games. They've gone over the total in 6 straight. BC's gone over the total in 3 straight. I'm staying off the side. The over's in play. I like it, 151.5. I'm going over the total here, Boston College and Duke. Obviously, it's a late afternoon start. You worry that maybe that affects shooting negatively. It's not enough to keep me off this over. 2 defenses I don't trust. I lean BC, but to me, the total is the stronger bet. I'm going over the number here, BC and Duke. C-Mac, what do you think about this game?
Both these defenses are horrible. Just what you said. BC 6 of 7, Duke 6 in a row. I mean, BC plays no defense, and if you've watched Duke lately, they don't either. Coach K tried to say in the middle of the year that their defense was getting a bit better when they went on that run. No, they're not. They're not very good. The problem is, I think they can score more than like 64. Still, it's close to this total, the 151 against Florida State. I mean, I think Duke can get in the high 80s, and as long as BC gets over 70, I think this is over all the way. You look back, BC's been an over team all year, and so is Duke. That's my strongest play here. On the side, I lean to catch the points. I can't trust Duke. I just can't do it. I might make a small play here on BC. I don't love it, though. I mean, how can you right now with Duke, even on a neutral floor? I mean, Boston College is that bad. It's all about if Boston College can hit their shots. They're very erratic, their offense. They got a few guys, and if they can get a little hot, this will fly over and they can stay in this game. They don't. They shoot it bad. Duke actually might get the cover here. But definitely like the over, and I'd lean to catch the points with BC.
Yeah, I might add BC. If this gets any higher, I mean, if it starts even going above 13, I'm going to have to bet something on BC, getting all these points. Because to me, I don't know if it's all physically why Duke is struggling this year and struggled again down the stretch. I think it's mentally. I think we've kind of tapped out. Of course, they had Jalen Johnson walk off and leave the team as well recently. Are they mentally locked in still? You got to question that. Like, that's a rivalry on Saturday against North Carolina. That's supposed to be someone effort, and showing up to play a basketball game is not supposed to be in question when you're playing North frickin' Carolina and you're Duke. You're not supposed to have your effort questioned. And you're not supposed to be in a spot where, boy, I wonder if Coach K can get his team to play and revved up to play North Carolina. It's supposed to be assumed that your rival, you've had this, what's one of the most historical rivalries in all of sports, let alone college basketball. And they were flat out, I don't know if it was unprepared. I don't know if it was their we don't give a shit meter being at 10 for that. I don't know what it was. But to see Duke not even ready for North Carolina on Saturday, when North Carolina had already beat them earlier in the season, was an indictment of maybe where this team's headspace is. Have they mentally checked out already? I don't know. It sure looks like it. I don't. It sounds like I'm angry about what's happening with Duke. I actually love it. I think it's hilarious. I enjoy it. I'm sick of Duke. I get sick of them every year. I'm enjoying it when they're having a little bit of pain and a little bit of misery. But I'm just saying, from their standpoint, it's kind of sad that here they are against North Carolina, season finale. They need every win like a human being needs oxygen to breathe. They need every win just as badly to get into the NCAA tournament. And they're just a no-show, essentially, against North Carolina. How can you lay 13 points today with a team like that, with what they just showed you, against North Carolina on Saturday? So, yeah, I know BC's horrid, especially on defense. But at least the last couple of games, they hung tough with Miami in that one. They have had some games where they've not been blown out. So to me, I can only go BC here. And I probably will have a small bet. But like Conor said, I think the over is probably the better way to go in this one. Next up, Wake Forest and Notre Dame. Notre Dame 8-point favorites, 140.5 the total. I know Jacksonville Zoe in the chat says he likes Notre Dame. I kind of disagree here. I'm not laying 8 with Notre Dame. Wake is awful. Wake struggled down the stretch. I get that. This is where my bias, I guess you could say, to Steve Forbes as a head coach and his ability in conference tournament settings to get his team playing well. Look at East Tennessee State. Look what he did there over the years. And look how ETSU played in this year's tournament in the first season without Steve Forbes patrolling the sideline. He not very good. This is a conference tournament coach. Every year, at least at ETSU anyway, every year his teams played well in the conference tournament. And you're going to lay 8 with Notre Dame? There's nothing that's all that special to me about laying 8 points with Notre Dame. Another erratic, inconsistent team. You can throw all of these friggin' ACC teams today into the same hat and pull them out, and you can't tell the difference. These are erratic, inconsistent teams, all of them, that struggle a lot defensively, that don't necessarily have great shot making and playmaking at the offensive end of the basketball court. I know it's been an ugly stretch for Wake, 7 straight losses. They only covered once during that span, a lot of blowout losses. But Notre Dame, I know they're coming off the huge win against Florida State. I honestly don't know where that came from. But what's Notre Dame done after big wins this year? Laid an egg is what they've often done. They've had some big wins in the past and not been able to follow them up. They beat Miami, lose to Syracuse, lose by 12 to Louisville. How do you lose to Boston College? That's Notre Dame. You can beat Florida State, but you can lose to Boston College, 94-90, and give up 94 points to Boston College. Too much variance in Notre Dame. I don't trust them laying 8 here at all. It's a bet for me on Wake that, again, I don't love it because of Wake's struggles, but this is me banking on Steve Forbes at tournament time to get something out of his basketball team and a little time to prep as well. And it's also maybe a little bit of a letdown spot for Notre Dame. That was a huge win against Florida State for them on Saturday. I'm not trusting them laying 8. So, yeah, it's maybe a little leap of faith with Wake given their struggles and getting beaten down consistently down the stretch, but I'm going to go with them anyway, plus the 8.5 here, Wake Forest. C-Mac, what do you think? Wake, Notre Dame?
Yeah, let me answer Billy's question here. I don't mind it if you got enough. You think Pitt's going to beat Miami, Notre Dame, but I don't like that 170. All 3 teams to win at plus 170. I'd want way more plus money than that for all 3 of those favorites to win for that FanDuel thing there. Here, I can't lay 8 with Notre Dame. Neutral court. I want nothing to do with it. I'd only look towards Wake, but they haven't been able to shoot the ball at all lately. I mean, I lean with their coaching with Forbes, like you talked about. They were against the spread machine early on. They won, 8 out of 10 to start out, but they've just lost, again and again, the last 4 or 5 games. I don't want anything to do with this one. If I had to free play, I'd take the points. I close my eyes and take the points with Wake. I could see Notre Dame maybe covering this, but I think it's a slimmer chance. They could win by 10, sure, but I don't want anything to do with it. It's just a pass for me.
All right, we go to the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference first round action. There was one game yesterday. I cashed with Ryder plus 6 against Canisius, coming back to win outright yesterday. So good result there to start this conference tournament. We've got 2 games in the first round of the Metro Atlantic today. Iona Quinnipiac. Iona 6-point favorites, 143.5 the total in this game. Here we go, and this is a better beware. It's another case of a team off a COVID shutdown and a COVID layoff here, that being Iona. And this is not the first time they've had one. They've had a bunch of them this season, this Iona team. They haven't played since February 20th, and now they got to play Quinnipiac here, who, look, not a bottom half of the conference team, didn't play well much of the regular season, but a team that maybe found a little spark down the stretch. They just finished 2 games to wrap up the regular season against St. Peter's, one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the Metro Atlantic. They won the first game against St. Peter's, and they lost the rematch by only 2 points. So the Quinnipiac Bobcats turning it up. They've got a freshman point guard now running the offense for them. He's played pretty well since they made that change. I worry a little bit about ball handling, pressure style that Iona brings. Rick Pitino, of course, has coached that way for years, going back to Louisville. Can he handle the ball? Can he make the right decisions running the point for Quinnipiac today? But you look at it, Quinnipiac's got the better defensive numbers than Iona. I think that matters in conference tournament games because, look, yesterday, Elon and Hofstra is a perfect example. Elon had the much better defensive statistics. Who won the game? Elon. The better defensive team ended up getting the job done there. in that game. Quinnipiac's allowing teams to shoot just 29% from 3-point range. That's good because Louisville can shoot Iona can shoot the three. I'm thinking of back in the day, Rick Pitino, but yeah, Iona shoots about 36%. And the COVID shutdown angle is real. These teams are struggling in the first game back on the court. There were a couple this weekend. They struggled, especially in the first half, and they struggled in the full game as well. So I think Quinnipiac's got and Quinnipiac beat Iona last month, 74-70. So they matched up well with Iona head to head. You know, they're the better defensive team. I think Iona is definitely the way more talented team. Hence that's why they're laying 6 here on a neutral court. There's no denying that. But I think the matchup's not a bad one for Quinnipiac. They're the better defensive team. Iona's off the long layoff. We saw multiple examples over the weekend. The teams off the layoff struggled big time in that first game back. So I'm on Quinnipiac here, +6 full game, and also split it up with the first half on Quinnipiac as well, +3. I think we get Quinnipiac taking advantage of this situation. They played St. Peter's well down the stretch, and Iona off the layoff. I think it's tough for them to be clicking and rolling and in rhythm that first game for them since February the 20th. What do you think, CMAC? Iona, Quinnipiac?
Yeah, you're right. Iona does have the more talent, but Quinnipiac's playing great. I wish this was 8. I'd really feel better. Quinnipiac can be up and down. They don't have the scores Iona can. I'm just worried Iona could get hot shooting and win this, but they're off the layoff, coming back. I'd only look to Quinnipiac catching the 6 here. I just don't love it. It's not my favorite look, but I'd only take the dog here. I think every point is close in this one, so I definitely would take the 6. And nothing on the total. Iona's been an over team, but we've seen in these conference games, shooting-wise, I don't know, not at 144. I don't know if it can get there. So I'm going to stay off the total, but definitely lean the +6 here.
I did bet the over as well, but I don't like it quite as much as the side. Just because, usually these teams, when they're coming back from the layoff, it's a little ragged. The play gets a little ragged, a little sloppy. And you get easy baskets, transition, a lot more transition scoring. And, of course, transition scoring is key when you're betting an over. You got to have some of that. So yeah, I think there's a chance you get a few of those easy baskets here in this one. Next up in the Metro Atlantic, the other first-round game, Manhattan and Fairfield. The Jaspers taking the money. They opened 1-point favorites up to 2.5 now. The total 126.5 in this game. I kind of agree with this move. I think they're better than Fairfield. I know they split the 2 games just recently head-to-head. Fairfield lost the first game against Manhattan 69-59, won the second game 85-67. But I think when you match up these two teams, I still think there's the better team here is Manhattan a little bit. You look at what they've done throughout the course of the regular season. I think they can show that they are a little bit superior. You look at the overall numbers in terms of defense, Manhattan a little bit better. Offense a little bit better, Manhattan as well. 63 points per game, Fairfield 62. Fairfield defensively 68 points per game allowed, Manhattan 67 points per game allowed. Manhattan. Fairfield's slightly better field goal shooting percentage offensively, but definitely Manhattan better defensively than Fairfield. Fairfield was, remember, terrible early in the season, did play a little bit better down the stretch, but now in a rematch situation, the team off the loss is Manhattan, because these two teams actually played each other twice to end the regular season. Now they're playing each other again, first round of the conference tournament, so it's a third straight game, these two teams playing each other head-to-head. But now you got the better team, in my opinion, off the loss in the last game, and I think they get the job done. I like Manhattan here. It's getting up there, 1, 2.5. You're losing some value, but maybe just take the money line. I do think they win the game. What do you think, CMAC?
I agree. The third one, I'd look towards Manhattan. You went over, I went over all the totals, the defense. They're a little bit the better team. And that second game, we both had Fairfield. They won it outright by 18. They were getting 4.5. They do that, the flip-flop of the team, and they shot the lights out. I mean, Fairfield isn't a good shooting team, and they scored 85. I mean, they were had a great shooting night. I don't think that happens again here. They're a team that doesn't shoot it that well, as you brought up. So I got to go with Manhattan here, a small lean. And it's now up to 2.5. If you don't feel comfortable, take it money line. I don't know if I'm going to bet it, but I'd only lean to Manhattan here as a small favorite.
Yeah, they shot 27 to 55. That's nearly 50%, 49% in the last game, Fairfield, that they won
Unreal.
85-67. That's an
That had to
anomaly.
be.
If you've
Yeah,
watched
that's what
Fairfield Stags basketball all year, you know that team doesn't shoot that way normally, not even close. What's their average? Look, that was 49% in that game. What's their season average Fairfield field goal? 40.1. So it was way above their average, not way above their average shooting the basketball, this Fairfield team. So, yeah, what goes up must come back down. I think that's going to end up happening a little today for Fairfield. All right, let's go to the Big West Conference now. Mandalay Bay Event Center in Las Vegas. I mean, Conor, you're right in the heart of where many of these conference
right down the
tournaments
street.
go. Yeah, there you go. Do you want to walk over, catch a little Big West basketball? You can do so. We got Long Beach State and CS Northridge. Northridge 2.5-point favorites here. 153 the total in this game. Northridge to me probably be the side I would look at here. Long Beach State. I don't know what happened their last game, but it was brutal. I mean, they played just terrible basketball in that game. It's been a rough season for Long Beach. Long Beach is a team where at times when they're getting 7, 8, 9 points as a dog, I'm interested. I'm not interested in asking them to win a game here. No way. And that's where this price range is right now with Northridge only laying 2.5. I think Northridge, when you look at these two teams, definitely Northridge is the better defensive team. I mean, it's just been awful at times for this Long Beach State team, giving up nearly 80 points per game on the season, 4 straight losses down the stretch. Reasonable number. Lay the 2.5, in my opinion, with Northridge. That would be the side I'd have to go with here. I think Long Beach State, I didn't see a whole lot of fight in them in that last couple of games they played down the stretch. To lose to Irvine by 15 in that last game. They hung tough with Irvine the first game, but then got railroaded 73-58 in the second game. I don't know if there's a whole lot left in Long Beach State's gas tank after a really tough season by their standards. So I think Northridge gets the win here. What do you think, C-Mac?
Yeah, I can't go, Ant. No, there's no one that can go. The public, man. Plus, you'd have to wear a mask. The whole thing. I'd go there, but I'd go to
You're not letting people into the that tournament. No fans.
I don't think so. Then it's very limited. You have to have like family and all that crap. I'd rather go to the Gonzaga game if I could go.
Yeah,
tonight.
Never mind the Big West.
Yeah,
I would take that option over that one too.
Yeah. Anyways, I got to go Northridge here. They've been banged up all year. I don't like laying points with them, but this is a short number. Long Beach had been playing better, but I don't think they're as good as Northridge. As long as I thought this was under 4. I like Northridge. It's not my favorite look, but I definitely got to go Northridge here and lay the 2.5. I think they're the better team, and I think they can win anywhere from 5 to 12 in that area over Long Beach here. So give me Northridge.
All right. Second Big West first round matchup is Cal Poly CS Fullerton. We have Fullerton 5.5-point favorites actually now, 140 the total. Fullerton should win the game. I lean to laying the points with them, but these are still bottom half of the conference teams. I don't necessarily love laying points on neutral courts with, teams that are in the bottom half of the league. You just don't know if you're necessarily going to get them to be able to cover numbers in this kind of range. But for me, it's still very much a leap of faith taking Cal Poly. It's been a difficult season for them overall. I think I would look a little bit here toward this Fullerton side. 0-11, by the way, straight up on the away from home this year for Cal Poly. So to me, it's you got to lay the points with Fullerton or you leave it alone. I passed just to lean to Fullerton. How about you, Conor?
Pass. No way. I think Fullerton's a little better here, but I don't want to lay 5.5, 6. I'd pass all the way around. I think they could win this one, but I don't want to close my eyes here and bet Fullerton minus 5.5, 6 here. No way. Quick pass for me.
All right, quick pass for Conor. Nothing wrong with that. We move on to the Colonial Athletic Association Conference Championship game, and the team that I've made the most money with here in conference tournament season is in this game, the Elon Phoenix, and they're taking on the Drexel Dragons. We've got Drexel 4-point favorites here, 130.5 the total in this game. Elon's just been a cash cow for me here in this tournament. Took him against Towson on Saturday. Took him against James Madison on Sunday. Took him against Hofstra last night. 3 straight wins for this Elon team. 2 of them outright as underdogs against JMU and Hofstra. They're playing great basketball, Elon, and they're doing it with their freshmen stepping up in this tournament. They've been excellent. McIntosh it was their best player. Didn't even have his best game last night against Hofstra, but they're getting other guys to step up. This team has also found it offensively. This team was not a great shooting team throughout much of the season, Elon, not even close. And now all of a sudden, they've just found their shooting stroke at the right time of year. They are lighting it up. 2-point field goal percentage, 3-point field goal percentage. They've done a magnificent job. Like I say, Hunter McIntosh, Darius Burford. Again, the freshman had a phenomenal game against Hofstra last night, 19 points on 8 of 16, 50% from the floor. This team's just on a roll right now. And, it's tough to go against them. Now, again, this is a situation you have to be mindful of. It's the 4th game in 4 nights. But here's how I look at this. We had 2 teams in this situation last night in conference championship games playing their 4th game in 4 nights. We cautioned everybody, we worry that the gas tank, they're going to run out of energy. They're just going to, hit a wall physically a little bit in this situation. I just want to warn people, don't allow this to be the only factor you handicap with these teams. The 4 game in 4 nights, if you want to bet against teams in this spot, fine, but only use that as part of the puzzle. There's got to be other factors that go into betting against these teams when they're playing their 4th game in 4 days. Because look at yesterday. We had one team playing their 4th game in 4 days, Mercer. Okay, they lost straight up and ATS against Greensboro. But the other team was App State playing their 4th game in 4 days against Georgia State. And they not only won and covered outright as underdogs, they pretty much led wire to wire. So it's case by case. You can't paint all these teams in this situation, 4 games in 4 days, with the same brush. You have to look at it individually, and you can't just blindly bet against all of these teams in this spot. App State proved that last night. So, to me, I take heed in the fact, and I understand them. I'm aware that Elon's in that spot, 4 games in 4 days, but they're catching 4.5. They played the earlier game last night. Drexel had to play the later game against Northeastern. I think that's makes this a little bit easier for Elon maybe to hang in there and not have them just get tired and fatigued and worn down, and maybe adrenaline kicks in, because I'm telling you what, it looks like this team's running on adrenaline right now, this Elon team, the way they're playing. And hey, how am I going to not bet them again tonight when I've been riding them for 3 straight games? And you better believe I'm doing that. So Elon for me plus 4.5. It's down to 4. There's been some Elon money, but I have no disagreement with that. I like Elon plus the points. Smaller lean over the total as well. C-Mac, what's your thoughts here? Elon Drexel.
Yeah, I lean towards the over too. We'll see. These championship games, I think it could get tight. Points could be a premium at the end, but I still think the total's low enough where it could get over. I got to take the points with Elon. I mean, I was shocked. I thought they'd be a little tired catching the points yesterday. Hofstra did really, as we just talked about earlier in the show, just 1 point in 6 minutes, just buckle down the stretch. I think this one's closer. Drexel's been shooting the lights out. Like, their offense has been playing really well. I think this is a good one, and it's very close. So in this spot, I don't want to lay it. I'd rather take points. So I'm just going to stick with Elon as well. I'm going to take the points with him, the plus 4.5. I think this game is, at this point, after they've won 7 or 8 in a row, like the adrenaline, to lay an egg would be pretty disappointing. I think they'll play solid here. I'd rather take it than lay it here. So give me Elon plus 4.5.
And for Elon, don't underestimate the motivational factor of these kids making history for this
first
program.
Time they have never.
Elon
yeah.
wins. It's the first time they're in the NCAA tournament in program history. Yeah, you could say that's a lot of pressure too. That hey, they fold under the pressure, but I don't know. They don't look like a team that's folding under anything. They punched Hofstra in the mouth in the second half yesterday and just shut them down. And Hofstra is one of the top offensive teams in the Colonial Athletic Association, and they just completely shut them down in the last 6 minutes. So I think Elon, to me, they want to do it, and that's certainly they're aware of that. They're going to be looked at. They're going to be put statues in the Elon campus for these kids if they win this game tonight. This team think about it, has never been in the NCAA tournament. There's not many programs, you can say that they've never, been in the NCAA tournament. Elon Phoenix are one of those teams. So I would expect them to play like it's Game 7 of an NBA series tonight in this one. Not that Drexel won't. Of course, Drexel wants to get there too, of course. But I like the idea of taking points with this red-hot team, the Elon Phoenix. Oakland and Cleveland State now, Horizon League tournament championship game. If it's anything like the other games, it'll be a down-to-the-wire coin flip again. Cleveland State 2.5-point favorites, 140 the total. I was on Oakland last night, won. I was against Cleveland State last night, lost, and unfortunately, that was a right side loser, as Teddy Covers would say, a right side loser here with Milwaukee last night because they were leading that whole game, pretty much leading the whole game. And then they just let it slip in the last few minutes, and Cleveland State got a couple stops, hit a couple free throws, and that was that. They won by just enough of a margin to get the point spread cover. I think I'm coming right back to Oakland and right back to going against Cleveland State here today. Oakland found something with that big guy down low last night against Northern Kentucky. Now, either Northern Kentucky is that stupid or poorly coached. They couldn't figure out that Oakland is just crushing them in the paint last night, but they just kept feeding the guy inside, and Northern Kentucky had no answers. And against Cleveland State, the front line is pretty good. Their front court is pretty good. So to see Oakland have their big guy play like that for a team that earlier in the season, they didn't get a lot from the inside, from the front court, the Oakland team. That's, I think, a good thing for them matchup-wise going into this game. I think that's got the chance to carry over here against Cleveland State. And let's be honest, Cleveland State in this tournament, they needed overtime to beat Purdue Fort Wayne by 4, barely won it. And, barely won and could have easily lost last night against Milwaukee. So they're not winning games easily. Oakland is playing every bit as well here in this conference tournament. They basically beat down Northern Kentucky pillar to post. They were leading by double digits comfortably that whole game last night. Whereas Cleveland State's got to grit it out, tough it out, roar back from a big deficit to beat Milwaukee. And what happens when you do that? You expend a lot more energy. Oakland didn't have to. Oakland's cruising. They're comfortably up most of that game. So I think there could be a little bit of a freshness advantage, believe it or not, for Oakland because they didn't have to expend the energy to beat Northern Kentucky that Cleveland State did, having to come back and beat Milwaukee last night. So I like Oakland here, plus 2.5. I think this is a down-to-the-wire game. Oakland's very capable of winning the game straight up, in my opinion, and the idea of getting 2.5 with them is just an added bonus. So I like this Oakland side at plus 2.5. Total-wise, 140. I don't know. It's tough. Cleveland State wants this to be a lower-scoring game. Oakland probably wants it to be a little bit more up and down, higher scoring. Championship game, 140 is not necessarily a bargain when it comes to the total. I had to lean to the over, but just a lean as of right now. What do you think, C-Mac, with the Horizon League title game here, Oakland, Cleveland State?
Yeah, this one should be good. I don't know here because I think the line's right on at about 2.5 with Cleveland State. Them as a small favorite, they've won some early on, but they've played some really tight games and not covered. I wish I was getting more with Oakland. Their good play of late has made this number really tight. I wish it was 4.5, 5. I'd really like Oakland. I lean with them. And the total's up there. Oakland, over team, like you said, but Cleveland State wants to slow it down. They played a lot of overtime games, Cleveland State, so it's close. I'd be on these two than laying it with Cleveland State. So just a small lean with Oakland here.
Yeah, lean to the over in Oakland for me as well. Next up, we've got Southern Miss Rice. Rice, 4-point favorites, 141.5 the total. This is the first round of Conference USA tournament in Frisco, Texas at the Ford Center. I like Rice here. I like Rice first half, and I like Rice full game. This is the exact same scenario I talked about with Iona earlier in the show. We've got Southern Miss off a layoff going into this game. Southern Miss is not very good anyway, and you throw in the fact that they're off a long layoff. That could be really big trouble for them. They're 1-9 straight up their last 10 games, Southern Miss. And the only win was against a horrendous Florida International team who, were floundering down the stretch and just playing miserable basketball. And that's the only win Southern Miss has had in their last 10 games. Even on a neutral court, I think 4 is perfectly reasonable of a price here to be laying with Rice.
Me too.
in this matchup. Rice, to me, is a very good offensive team. Yeah, defensively, it comes and goes for them. That's always been their Achilles heel a little bit, the defensive end of the court. But I think, they are a much better offensive team. They're averaging more than 11 points per game than the Southern Miss team. They shoot the ball a lot better. I think this is a good matchup for Rice. Southern Miss is not very good. And, Rice beat some pretty decent teams during the season. They actually hung tough against North Texas, beat UAB once. And in terms of head-to-head meetings, they clearly showed they own Southern Miss. And I don't buy this. It's hard to beat the same team 3 times in a season. They beat Southern Miss by 26 and by 8 in the 2 regular season meetings. I don't know if anything changes here, especially with Southern Miss struggling down the stretch, especially with Southern Miss off a long shutdown. They haven't played in a few weeks. I like Rice first half, which is at -2.5, and also full game -4 in this one. I'd also go over the total because both meetings this year went over the total. 88-62 went over 139, 76-68 it went over 140. You had 150 and 144 points scored in the 2 head-to-head games, Southern Miss and Rice, during the regular season. If we get the same number of points here, it goes over 141.5. So I like the over, and I like Rice first half full game. What do you think, C-Mac?
Yeah, I think it could get over this total. I'm not going to play it here on the total, but I'm with you. I like Rice. I think it's a short enough number here at 4. They beat them down both times at both meetings, like you just said, 12, and the other one was by over 20. I just think they're the better team all the way around. Southern Miss, not a very good basketball team. And 4's, I think it's solid. I think they get the cover here. This was one that stood out to me right away when I looked at the board. So definitely Rice -4.
Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely going to be an interesting matchup here between these 2 teams. We'll have to wait and see how it goes. But to me, Rice just a lot more trustworthy here down the stretch. They played some better basketball. Southern Miss with the layoff. Don't necessarily think they're going to be sharp. And you're talking about a team that stunk. It's not only are they not going to be sharp, they were horrible before the pause. So is anything going to change here? I don't think, especially when you haven't had much practice time. Like these layoffs and these shutdowns, you don't get on the court to practice very much either. So be careful with that with both Southern Miss and with Iona today in these games with these 2 teams off the layoff here. Oral Roberts, North Dakota State Summit League Championship. We've got North Dakota State 1-point favorites, 145.5 the total in this game. Oral Bob plus the points. I took them last night and they shocked the Jackrabbits. South Dakota State with a huge win. Buzzer beater shot to win that game, advance to the championship game. North Dakota State came back from a deficit against South Dakota to get to this championship game as well. Very simply, I like the red-hot Oral Roberts team. Oral Bob just beat the number 1 seed. Why can't they beat North Dakota State in this one? I don't see any reason they can't. They played the first of the 2 semifinals last night, so a little bit of a slight rest edge for Oral Roberts as well going into this game. They're a slight dog. I think they should be the slight favorite, honestly. After when you beat South Dakota State, who are excellent in this conference, you should be a slight favorite. I don't think they should be a slight dog here. I think the slight value here is with Oral Roberts +1 in this one. That's the side I like. Summit League Championship, Conor, Oral Roberts, North Dakota State.
Yep, I'm Oral Roberts guy, Oral Bob. I'm going to stick with them here. North Dakota State's very plodding, low scoring, control the basketball, good passing team, fundamental. Oral Roberts is not as tall, a little bit smaller, but I love how they shoot it. They've been playing well. They're feisty. I want them here. Yeah, money line, Oral Roberts. And I'm not going to get with the total in this one. They played earlier, won 61-54 earlier in the year and then lost 80-74. They want to score. I think it's more towards that, and it leans over, but I don't think they want to get in the slowdown, game with North Dakota State here.
All right. So, yeah, we agree. Oral Roberts. And the over that's a low number for Oral Roberts, but, games are adding up. You worry championship game, it tightens up a little bit. You get these droughts, but I still would lean over the total. That is a low total for an Oral Roberts game, mid 140s. You don't see that very often. So I think there might be some value. I might still add that over as well, but I like the side Oral Roberts as well. West Coast Conference Championship, Orleans Arena, BYU, Gonzaga. Gonzaga 14-point favorites, 155.5 the total. Look, it would have been difficult enough for BYU to win this game or compete against Gonzaga. And then they had to extend themselves to overtime late last night against Pepperdine. Hell, on the East Coast, that game didn't end till like 2:30 a.m., almost 3 a.m. Eastern time. And so it was a very, very late night if you were staying up to watch that game. But BYU survives in overtime, 82-77. Very gutsy comeback because Pepperdine led for most of that game. Their backcourt, Kessler Edwards and Colby Ross, they were outstanding last night for Pepperdine. Unfortunately, wasn't quite enough to get them through with the win. BYU got it going down the stretch. And Mark Pope's team now has a chance at Gonzaga. But, Gonzaga looks like a well-oiled machine. They won and covered against St. Mary's. You know what I've said consistently about Gonzaga games. Not getting involved. It's going to come right down to the number probably. Coin flip whether they win, probably cover the number in most games. Hard to find value with Gonzaga, even though they squeaked out the cover last night against St. Mary's. Just a game I'm not going to get involved with. I get concerned. Total is Gonzaga. Usually I only look over, but we saw the game bogged down with St. Mary's last night. And Mark Few actually said to his team going into the conference tournament, we want to fix our defense. We want to start playing better defense. We know we can score. We know our transition game is lethal. We can just punish and bury teams with it, but we also need to improve our defensive play going into the NCAA tournament. And they did that against St. Mary's. They completely bottled them up, especially in the second half. So that's why I would pump the brakes on the over, especially with the total being 154.5. Other than that, pass for me. I haven't passed on a lot of games but this is definitely one I'm not involved in. CMAC, BYU, Gonzaga.
Yeah, I just don't like too much about it. I mean, Gonzaga will be around the number. So they won by 17 the first game, right? First matchup. And 11, they were winning by more in that second one, too. They were winning by like 18. And kind of BYU got a lot of late junk points, and they only lost by 11 at BYU. I could see it, them losing by 11 or they're winning by 20. So I don't want to guess with that. And I always say, if you think Gonzaga is going to come out flying, take them first half if you like it. I mean, like I said, I think it just usually probably 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3, probably in that 65 to 75% chance. Usually the first half they play well and cover, because every once in a while they throw up kind of a stinker first half, and they come roaring back in the second. So maybe Gonzaga first half, but I'm not going to be playing this one. And if I really had to, I'd play take the points with BYU. I wish it was just a few more, maybe 17, something like that, but 14 I'm passing.
All right, next up we've got the Southland first round of their conference tournament. McNeese State, Southeast Louisiana. McNeese State 1.5-point favorites, 146 the total in this one. Just two teams that are very, very shaky and suspect defensively. So to me, it's two teams where this number's near a pick 'em. It's probably where it should be. I think it could go either way from a side perspective. I'm pretty sure we see points. Again, this is a first round game, so teams aren't playing consecutive days. The energy should be there. The freshness should be there. That should make the shot making better and more readily possible for these two teams. So just going to stick over the total here with two teams that's very, very shaky at the defensive end. Anything for you, Conor? McNeese, Southeast Louisiana?
This one, first round. I think this is the total I actually like. First round, both these teams score and just don't play any defense. It's just up and down. So this was one total that I think can get open over 146. And nothing on the side. I don't think there's much value here. Laying 1.5, 2 points with McNeese State, nope, and getting a couple with Louisiana. I just lean towards this over. The last game they played, February 24th, in the 90s. I don't know if it's in the 90s, but I think we get over 146, so I lean the over.
All right, and the second first round game in the Southland, Houston Baptist, Incarnate Word. We've got Houston Baptist, 2.5-point favorites, 144 the total. They might actually win this game, Houston Baptist. And usually they were one of the worst teams in this conference, but there were some signs of life from Houston Baptist down the stretch. They were competitive. They actually started playing a little bit of defense. I don't want to say a lot, but a little bit of defense in the second half of the season. And Incarnate Word is definitely not necessarily a team that is hands down leaps and bounds better than Houston Baptist right now, especially going 0-5, straight up in ATS down the stretch. And they already beat Incarnate Word head the last time they played 72-67 in the last head-to-head meeting. So Houston Baptist taking money. Crazy as it is to say that they haven't been favored very often this year, but this might be a game where it's warranted that they're the slight favorite here in this game. When you look at it, they've already beaten Incarnate Word twice. They've had the advantage both games. So it makes sense, I think, that Houston Baptist taking a little bit of money. I want to bet it over, but even in these 140s, we've seen some unders, and both meetings went under the total this year between these two teams. So it's tricky from a totals perspective. It feels like it should be an auto bet for me when I see Houston Baptist in the total of 143. I should be betting it over, but they haven't been that auto over down the stretch that they were early in the season or all of last year, pretty much. So lean over, lean Houston Baptist. C-Mac, what do you think?
This one's ugly. I want nothing to do with either of these two teams. I guess Houston Baptist a little bit, but they're laying 2. Incarnate Word, I haven't really had any success on them all year, so this one's a pass. And they both play up and down, but I think the total's a little high, so I'm staying off that as well.
This is what the Star Wars, right? We all know Star Wars, and a lot of people like Star Wars. Some don't. Well, this final game on the card, Mount St. Mary's and Bryant, Northeast Conference Championship. Instead of Star Wars, this is going to be Pace Wars. Pace Wars is what we have here with these two teams. Bryant, 6.5-point favorites here, 133.5 the total. It is a pace war. Bryant is one of the best offensive teams in the country, one of the fastest pace teams in the country. Mount St. Mary's is one of the weaker offensive teams in the country and one of the absolute slowest teams in terms of pace in the country. So who's going to win out here in this game? That's the question. I think talent probably wins out. Bryant has been obviously one of the best teams in this conference all season long, the best. That's why they're in the conference championship game. Now, Mount St. Mary's has played good down the stretch. They split with a solid Fairleigh Dickinson team, beat St. Francis, PA in overtime. I didn't see them beating Wagner on Saturday, but they did, 66-60. Their defense is just really tightening the screws on their opponent, but this is a juggernaut offensive basketball team, Bryant. Can they do it here in this matchup against Bryant? That's going to be the question. Their defense has been terrific in this conference tournament, but Bryant's a different animal. To try to defend this team, going to be tricky here for Mount St. Mary's. We'll see if they're able to do it. It'll be interesting to see how this game goes. Bryant, if you like Bryant, you like the over. And probably if you like Mount St. Mary's, you like the under. It's really that simple. I think Bryant wins out 6.5. Again, Bryant, there's not been many point spread bargains with Bryant down the stretch. Remember, they had a great point spread streak going and then kind of cooled off. They had gone, I think, 1-5 or 1-6 ATS in January against the number in 7 games. But then they came back from their COVID pause, February 20, February 21, 25th, their last 5 games, they've gone 3-2 against the spread. They won all 5 games and they covered 3 of them. So all of a sudden, Bryant's starting to cover numbers again. Look, I respect the hell out of Mount St. Mary's, and what they did against Wagner was impressive. But Bryant's been the class of this conference pretty much all season. I lean to them laying 6.5. And I don't usually like laying points in conference championship games in this tournament settings, but it's a true home game for Bryant. Let's not forget that. This is not a neutral court. This Northeast Conference Championship game is at Bryant's home court, so that's a little advantage. I think Bryant would be the lean for me, and also the over would be the lean, because I think if Bryant wins and covers, the game's going over. Whereas I think if you think Mount St. Mary's covers, the game's probably going to go under. So I like Bryant. I like over. C-Mac, what do you think? Mount St. Mary's, Bryant.
Yeah, if you think Mount St. Mary's is in it, I think you got to lean towards the under. I haven't been high on Mount St. Mary's. They play real slow. They're not a good shooting team. They had a good game against Wagner, and they played well they won their last 3 games. But before that, they had some bad losses, both to Wagner, Fairleigh Dickinson. The big key is the home thing. I haven't bet this one, but I'd lean Bryant at home a little bit. the home team, I think it gives them like, this is enough screwing around. We can win this tournament, go to the NCAA tournament. We're at home. So I think it's a little bit of a bargain here. I haven't bet it yet. I'm still thinking about it, but I'd lean with Bryant laying the points just a bit at 6.5. Just a small lean right now.
Yeah, the reason why I'm a little bit now pumping the brakes is because 4.5 was the opener for this game when the line opened, and it's now 6.5. Even some sevens, are starting to show up now on Bryant. So losing 2 points of value in a conference tournament game such as this, that's always a little bit tricky for me. When you lose that many points of value in a conference tournament game. But I still think Bryant's the side that wins this game, punches their NCAA tournament ticket, and they will be a fun team to watch and a fascinating first opponent for somebody in the NCAA tournament, Brian. When you can shoot the ball from three like they do, they've got the backcourt, they've got the scoring, they've got the pace, their transition game is phenomenal. They could really, especially if they face a team that's turnover prone, wow, that could be a matchup made in heaven for Bryant maybe to pull off an upset in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So, but first, they got to win tonight before we even start thinking about that as they face Mount St. Mary's. All right, great stuff. That is the Tuesday college basketball card. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us, everyone watching live. Remember, the show is archived, so if you missed it live, you can watch it after the fact. Best bets, we'll try to get it going again with the best bets in just a second. But before we do, Connor, our sponsors, what have they got for us today?
Yeah, go to BuiltBar.com, hit promo code PubSports, you get 20% off your order. They got good snack bars. They got coconut, double chocolate, mint brownie. Go there, just hit BuiltBar.com, 20% off PubSports. Then go to BulkSupplements.com, hit promo code PubSports, get all the creatine, protein, all that good stuff. And of course, MyBookie, hit it up, 50% off your debit or credit, 100% off the Bitcoin. Put 1,000, you get 1,000, or at least a minimum of 100. Put 100. You get 100. MyBookie.ag at promo code PubSports. And go to Manscaped.com, promo code PubSports, 20% off. Get the tree trimmer 3.0. Keep the undercarriage shaved. Keep everything tight. Get the ball deodorant, the oils, all that stuff. Manscaped.com, promo code PubSports, 20% off.
All right, good stuff. There we go. All right, best bets for this Tuesday. Now, again, a reminder, we're on daily. Every day there's college basketball games for the rest of the season. We will be on at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Tomorrow's when it really starts to get exciting and start to get more and more games each day. Pac-12, Big 12, Big East, Big 10. They all start tomorrow. Big 12 as well, first round tomorrow as well. So we get everybody starting to join the fray in conference tournament action tomorrow. So make sure you join us. We're here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific this week. We also plan to do a special Selection Sunday show on Sunday night at 8 p.m., I should say, Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That's 2 hours after the selection show starts. And we'll have our first, it'll be like a half hour or so, maybe an hour tops. But just a brief first look at the brackets, brackets and, the lines will just be posted probably around that time for the opening round game. So we'll be doing that Sunday night. And then next week, still to be determined, we'll iron out the schedule we'll determine that moving forward. But there'll be a couple days off because there'll be a couple days there's no games. The tournament begins on Friday. And certainly every day that there's tournament games, NCAA tournament will be on 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. So we'll iron out the schedule beyond Sunday, but we can tell you that for now, we're on Wednesday through Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, and then we'll have our our Pub Sports Radio Selection Sunday special, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on Sunday night. First impressions, first thoughts regarding the bracket and the first round matchups for the NCAA tournament. So make sure you join us for all of that. All right, Connor, it's best bet time. What do you got?
All right, I'm going to go with just stuck out like I talked about first thing early. This one, I brought it up. It was Rice, -4. That was the one I kind of brought. Right when I looked at the board, I always like looking at ones that get my attention, then I dig deeper with it. So give me Rice, -4. I think they can cover this number today and beat Southern Miss by at least 10 today for the third time.
All right, Rice -4 against Southern Miss. Best bet for Connor Mack in this one. I'm going to go with Northridge here. Money line -140 against Long Beach State. Big West action. this is just I'm a little surprised they put Long Beach State in a price range where they've just about got to win the game. To me, then winning games has not been something this team has been able to do. They've had a rough season. It all started in the early part of the year where the coach is, flapping his gums about, the long time it took for them to get on the court and finally play. And they've just not gone any sort of rhythm since then.
Yeah.
I think CS Northridge is the side. They get the job done. Cal State Northridge, I'm going to go money line for the official recommendation, -140, CS Northridge against Long Beach State in Big West tournament action. That's my best bet for this Tuesday edition of the College Basketball Closing Time Show. And that'll wrap it up. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll be back with you tomorrow on Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific for another Pub Sports Radio College Basketball Closing Time Show. For Conor, Mac, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you again tomorrow on Wednesday right here on the Pub Sports Radio Closing Time Show.